Hello, my name is Kelly Ross. I'm a product support analyst with FCC AgExpert. Today's webinar is called Intro to Year End. The webinar is probably going to take us about 20 minutes or so, 20-25 minutes. A few agenda items that we're going to go over for this webinar is when is the right time to start your year end. We're also going to go over processing your GST, your last quarter or your annual return, depends on what you have it set as, and also bank reconciliation, going over the final month of bank reconciliation, how to deal with an inventory update or changing your inventory, making it more accurate, sharing your books with your accountant. Oh, and one other thing I kind of forgot there too is reconciling a loan balance. And also then to the final item would then be is how to make an adjustment entry. If your accountant does pass back some paperwork for adjustment entries for you to put in. So what we're looking at here is the main screen. And so from the main screen, to add a new fiscal year, it would be simply done by going to the top right-hand corner, clicking on the year, and from there clicking on Add Fiscal Year. If I did it now, what it would then do is it would get me a 2021 year. But as you can see, I've already created a 2020 year, and I also have a 2019 year. So what this allows me then to do is it allows me to finish up my 2019 year, and also then allows me to toggle over to my 2020 year and start my 2020 transactions. So kind of a first step, I would say, in getting your books ready to be passed on to your accountant would be to do a GST return. And so we'll go to taxes in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen here, GST. So it's going to appear here in a minute if I click on it right. There we go. Okay, so what I have processed here already is I do have my annual return processed. And as you can see, it's for $880.33. If I want to see that again, what I'd simply do is I click on that actual line and it brings back up that same return. So with that, I can then see I'm running from January to December. I have an annual return. Here's my value. Here's all my transactions that pertain to that actual $880. And I can print it off at any point in time too. So what actually takes place if I put in some more transactions that were in this 2019 year? What would then take place is it would allow me then to run another return if I wanted to. Otherwise, I just simply let it go into my new year, and it would be then captured in my 2020 year. So the next item probably what we then want to do, so you want to do number one was probably process your GST. Number two I would then look at is I would look at also then updating my inventory, making sure that that's accurate, going over my inventory quantities and my values before I pass it on to my accountant. So the way to do that is we'll go on the left-hand side, we'll go to inventory, and we're going to just say we're going to play with my Polish canola here, the 1310-01. And I believe I got 100 tons in there right now, and we'll say we want to update it to 125 tons. So we'll go up to adjust inventory, adjust quantity. Allows me then to choose my account. Oh, past it there, Polish canola. My date would be December 31st, my last date of my fiscal year. And we'll put in a description here. Adjust. Type of adjustment. We want to increase. And we want to increase it by, we're going to say 25 tons to make it 125 tons. So at that point in time, what I have in place here is I have selected my Polish canola. Here's my old value. There's my unit, my old quantity, I should say. Here's my unit value. And we want to add 25 tons to that to take it up to 125. So we're going to save that at that point in time and then updates it. So you want to go through all your inventory like that. And then the next item probably that you then want to do is you want to look at adjusting or reconciling your loan balances. Making sure they're somewhat accurate or making sure they are accurate. And lots of times what takes place is when throughout the year when people are posting actual loan values, doing a loan payment, they may not know how much is interest and how much is principal. Of course, at the end of the year, you're going to get a statement, or you could contact your financial institution, and they should be able to tell you throughout that year how much was interest and how much was principal from an actual loan payment. So to do that, there's a couple different ways we probably could do that. Once we have the figures in front of us, I could either do it through an entry screen, or I could do it through a general journal entry screen too. Either way would work just fine. If you know your debits and credits, you could then do it through a general journal entry screen on the left-hand side by going to More and General Journal. If you don't know your debits and credits, then all we then do is we go into our transaction entry screen, is what we then do. So we'll do it through our entry screen here. So we're going to do a transaction, new transaction, and we'll do a withdrawal. And we're going to say we're going to work with account number 2410-01. And what we're going to do is we're going to say throughout the year, I should have actually made, I need to make an adjustment entry for $500. $500 was actually interest that I paid on that actual loan. I didn't separate it out throughout the year when I was making my loan payments. So now I want to do that adjustment entry. So we need to then select the supplier. So at that point in time, we're going to select our ABC Bank, and it defaults to a bank account, a date, reference is optional. So what we would then want to then do here is we want to go and select first of all an expense. And I should have an interest account here. Loan interest charges. Description's optional. Quantity, unit price, amount. We're going to say, I believe we said it was $500 interest. I need to actually claim as an interest expense. And so we'll jump down to a second row, and on that second row, then we need to then offset it to our loan account. So we need to increase our loan by that value. And I believe it said it was 2410-01. Oh, I got the wrong account here. 2410-01, our tractor. And so then this is for $500. Tab. So what's taking place here is we're claiming $500 and there's an expense, and we're increasing our loan by $500. The reason we're increasing our loan by $500 is beforehand when we made the loan payments, we were not separating out our interest from our actual loan payment, and so it was all going towards our loan payment. So it actually decreased our loan payment by too much throughout the year. So then now, at this point in time, we're going to claim it back, claim it as an expense. So what we can then do is, at that point in time, we should be able to click on review here, and it shows what's taking place here. It shows a debit to our expense account and a credit to our loan account, and nothing's affecting our bank account here. So we'll save that entry. So you'd want to do that for all your loan balances too. Reconcile them, make sure they're correct. Make sure you've claimed the correct amount as an interest expense. So moving on from there, kind of the most important item I would say to just before you pass it on to your accountant to know you're on the right, going in the right direction, is to finalize your bank reconciliation. So this database is January to the end of December. So what I'd want to then do is I want to make sure I have my December's bank reconciliation done. So you'd go to the left-hand side and you go to banking. And from there, I'd go down to bank reconciliation. And as I could see, I started my bank reconciliation here. Continue reconciling. So I'd want to finalize this. I'd want to make sure that what's on my actual bank statement matches what's on my analyst program. If you're unfamiliar with doing a bank reconciliation, you need to get started on that. We do have another webinar you could view on specifically on just bank reconciliations, how to start it and how to do a bank reconciliation. The reason I say that the bank reconciliation would probably be one of the most important things to do, and I would leave it for the very last thing before I pass it on to my accountant. The reason for that is because then it allows me then to know that, hey, what's on my actual bank statement matches what's on my actual analyst program. So I know then at that point in time, I've did what I could, and now it's ready to be passed on to the actual accountant. You know, I've did my my GST, I've did my updated my inventory, I checked my loan balances over. It should be somewhat good to go. So the next thing that you then want to do is once I have my bank reconciliation done, is the program then has the capability of sharing this information with your accountant. So from the accountant side, what they would have to then do is they would have to go and create an account by going to www.agexpert.ca. Once they've created their own account, their own subscription, you could then share your data with them. They would be able to view it on their side. Everything that we're seeing here in front of us, they would have then the capability of viewing and doing general journal entries, adjusting inventory, all that kind of stuff. So the way we would share it with our accountant is we go to more, go to sharing, and it allows me then to click on share access with. And at that point in time, it allows me then to choose a person. So we'll add a new person in place here. And K, we'll just put in myself here again, just for example purposes. Okay, we got that all in place here. We need to select, let's select both of these here. And so yeah, so it has the basic information that it requires. Basically, it requires a company name and it requires an email address. So we'll save that. So then now what's going to take place now is we're going to save this one more time here. It allows me then to decide whether I'm going to share my field data or share my accounting data. So we want to share our accounting data, so that's all good. So we're going to save that. And as you can see, it then now appears here as a person I have shared my data with, and I've shared my expert accounting with that person. So what then takes place is that person will receive an email, and next time they log in using their actual email address, at that point in time, it would then allow them then to see my actual data. So from there, your accountant then could then work on the database, add adjustment entries to it, view the reports, all that kind of stuff. And as you can see here, here's the email that shot through because I used my email address. And he would then be able to do adjustment entries, adjust your inventory, all that kind of good stuff. And it would automatically then be loaded back onto your system, I guess you could say, in real time, is what would then take place. So the final thing that you'd want to actually look at then too is sometimes the accountant will give you back a set of adjustment entries. Instead of them putting them in, they'll simply compile adjustment entries on paper and maybe email it out to you or however it takes place or put on a memory stick. And maybe you agreed upon that you want to do the adjustment entries. So at that point in time, what you then do to do those adjustment entries is you would be going on the left-hand side, you'd be going under More, and down to General Journal. And it'll allow me then to start a new General Journal entry. And so we're going to say, for an example, that just a very simple General Journal entry here, that your accountant, that we forgot a value for a co-op equity, and your accountant wants you to update that value. And he wants you simply to increase that value and also then offset it to retained earnings account number 3998. So we'll put in a description here, adjustment entry, December 31st. And account, we'll go and find our co-op equity account. Here it is. And so we're going to then say our account wants us to adjust it by $500. So to increase an asset account, it would be then a debit to that asset account, so $500. Then we'll drop down and we'll add a new row. And we want to offset, our accountant asked us to offset it to our retained earnings account, which is $39.98. So we'll select that. And at that point in time, it would then be a credit for $500. Matching up, assuming that our accountant gave us some actual paperwork that had this adjustment entry in place. So then now at this point in time, my debits now match my credits, and that adjustment entry can then be recorded. So we'll just save this adjustment entry. So at that point in time, the adjustment entry is in place and it's ready to continue forward. That's the way you would do the adjustment entries that your accountant gave you. Is it would be done through the general journal entry using a debit and credit form. The same format he would have gave to you also on probably a piece of paper or something like that. Another item too that you could then, once you accountant, if your accountant gives you a trial balance and you want to view the trial balance on your system and you want to compare to make sure everything looks correct, is I would then go to reports, and from reports it then allows me to go to trial balance. And as I could see here, I got my date as of December 31st, and it shows me all my accounts, my debits and credits for all the accounts, the ending value, and my ending trial balance. So if this matches the accountant's trial balance, everything is good as of this date. Then I know that what's on the accountant's form or the accountant's set of books is the same as what's on my actual entries. And probably one of the last items you could then do is if you want to unshare it with a person, if you want to unshare it with your accountant for some reason, if you change accountants or you just want to unshare it, what you could then do is go to back to more, and from more go down to sharing. And at this point in time, we would then toggle it off. Invitation updated successful. And we could then close out here. And now I'm no longer sharing it with that person. So kind of that takes us through on an intro, a basic intro to doing a year end. So to recap what we went over here is we went over how to add a new fiscal year in the top right hand corner. We went over processing your GST. We went over your inventory, how to update that. We also went over doing a bank reconciliation and how important that is, and how to share it with your accountant, how to make a simple adjustment entry, and then on how to unshare it with your accountant. If anyone ever has any questions, of course, you can get in touch with us. And our number here is in the top right hand corner by going to the little question mark. And you'll see our 1-800 number there, 1-800-667-7893. And you also see our hours of operation. And you could also email us too. So I'd like to thank you for viewing our webinar today, and I hope everyone has a good day.